Welcome back to the Just Means Less ACC podcast, College Baseball Central's ACC Central. Monty, you've obviously had a long night in Charlotte. I officially hate the game of baseball with my night in Greenville. But how are you?
I'm great. We had some interesting games today. Some very interesting stories. We got a lot of good baseball in. Not quite the close competitive games that we were hoping for in all three games, but there was quite the thriller this morning.
Yeah, I mean, the best baseball game got played this morning for sure. Obviously, it was I mean, Monty, we're at the halfway point technically in terms of days, right? Doing math in my head, that's day 3, 6 days. So, based off your opinion, what would you say the tournament's been so far? Like, describe it in 1 or 2 words, and then maybe give it a rate it out of 10 for me.
I love this tournament regardless of whether the games are super competitive. Obviously, it's better. I'm probably going to rate it probably a 5.
Such an average answer. Come on, Monty. That's a cop out answer.
How's it a cop out answer? A cop out I think would have been 7.
I guess. You just went
I don't think
perfectly
it's
in the middle, though.
but it's not perfectly in the middle, because it's not like a C average. Like a 5 is a bad score.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the same ballpark. I would give it a 4.
You're not in the same ballpark. Don't lie to me.
Well played. Respect. Monty, you're cheering me up. Thank you. I needed this, even though I'm wearing the logo that you hate more than anything in the entire world.
I'm the only one that picked him.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. But no, yeah, it's been right. When we say disappointing tournament, we're not saying, this is the worst thing we've ever watched. It's just, we had a lot of expectations for a little bit better games. I mean, tonight was supposed to be the best game of the night, and we're not treated to such a thriller, at least, right? I mean, I think it was still a fun game. Yeah. I enjoyed watching it. I'm sure you did as well. But let's just jump right into it. You know what, Monty? I want to switch it up, though. Let's work backwards because the best game was last. How about that? That sounds good to you? All right. Yeah. We're working backwards. Duke was at 8-1, right? I didn't miss any runs.
It was 8-1. Yep. NC State got one in the last inning. Yeah. I was getting ready to type out the tweet about the combined shutout, and Jacob Kozart hit a double to the gap to drive in Makarevich, and that killed the shutout.
Where do we go? Do we start with the Duke offense? Do we start with the return of James Talon and looking like James Talon of old? Where do we want to go first?
There's a lot we can do here. I would love to start. Let's start with the Duke offense because I got a fun story that Devin Obie just shared in the press conference that I think people will find pretty fun. But obviously, this was a pitcher's duel for the first 4 innings. Sam Highfield looked fantastic until the 5th inning. He didn't give up a hit until the 5th inning, and then it just fell off the wheels there. Chase Cruson had another big game. If you guys remember, he had the outfield assist on Tuesday and the go-ahead 2 RBI single that completed that comeback against Virginia Tech. And then tonight he had a diving play to rob Noah Souls, and then a couple innings later hit the first, broke the deadlock of 0-0 and hit a solo shot. And then ultimately, like Tuesday, got a little overshadowed by Zach Morris. Zach Morris hit a 455-foot home run that does sound like it. I believe it is the longest of the tournament so far. And remember, there have been a lot of home runs. And from there on, it was just all Duke. AJ Grazia added another solo shot in the same inning. And then, all their home runs were, all their runs were scored on home runs. But the last home run was a Devin Obie, what appeared to be a double off the top of the wall. And he didn't know it was a home run. He stopped at second. They reviewed it. What got them to review it was a group of fans in center field gesturing that it was a home run, and to the Duke bench, and it was Noah Murray and a Roman DiGiacomo who alerted Pollard that there were fans say it was a home run. They should review it. So they review it, and it's a home run. Right, it's over the yellow line. Ends up being a home run. It's 8-0 Duke. Devin Obie goes out to center field. Guess who the fans were? The University of North Carolina baseball team, members of the UNC baseball team, giving an assist to their rivals Duke. to get them to do the review.
I mean, technically, they're giving an assist to one rival and hurting the other.
Right,
so
that's true. That's true. You got to love that. So
great.
I heard that story, and that's when I was like, I got to share that. That's a fantastic, because I was like, Devin Obie's like, well, funny story.
Great.
I'm like, how can there be a funny story in the middle of a game here? There it was. But yeah, Duke's offense was great. Zach Morris continues to be red hot. And the freshmen were doing really, really well. So, but I think the story really for Duke as well is Andrew Healy was absolutely as good as I've ever seen him. I know he had some really good numbers last year in the second half, but he was fantastic, and he gave up one hit, walked none, and only threw 59 pitches and got through 5 innings because he's still coming back from injury, getting fully stretched out.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like we saw the Duke pitching of old today. We saw. I think what we saw tonight, in my opinion, Monty, was the Duke team that I think can go to Omaha and finally get over that hump.
I mean, if Andrew Healy is back to that, because he's looked really good. Because I saw him pitch 2 innings last week, and he was really good then too. He's really sharp. Mm-hmm. So coming back from injury, if he's able to do this moving forward, his velocity's up. That's going to be a huge thing because you've added now a third starter or a second starter, depending on Santucci, with Kyle Johnson, and then you've got Talon, whose numbers have been a little bloated by 2 or 3 or 4 bad outings, but for the most part, he's been really good. Not quite as dominant as last year, but yeah, this Duke team is looking really good all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, and then on the NC State side, right? I don't think there's anything to be worried about. I mean, they may have lost the national seed, they may have lost that, but I mean, I know NC State fans, you want that luxury, but at the same time, a lot of things happen in the tournament. There's no you're not going to not host a super, just purely because of this. There's still opportunity for that, and again, hosting a regional at this point is a win, in my opinion, for NC State, considering how things kind of got started, right? Yeah. And again, it just wasn't their night. I mean, Duke was the better ball club tonight. I bet you if we played this game tomorrow, who knows? Maybe it's the pack to take it, But I looked at this purely as just this was Duke came out and again it was incredibly well played through 4 innings, and then Duke just capitalized and came just had a little bit more in the tank. And part of me wonders if that comes from having an extra day of rest. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But that was obviously a great game, and I'm sure the ACC folks are probably a little bummed that NC State's not playing on Saturday night, because I think that the crowd that I saw at least looked pretty darn good and a lot of red. So I'm sure they're going to miss potentially having those folks in the ballpark, as some of the bigger fan bases in the area are eliminated. There's really only 2 left, and one of them has to be eliminated tomorrow night. So it's going to be interesting. No offense to Duke, right? But when we're talking about these big
UNC, Wake Forest, and NC State all seem to have, in terms of baseball fan bases.
Yeah, and then you factor in, again, Clemson was eliminated today, which we'll get to obviously later. But, I mean, that's all I've got. Anything else you want to add on NC State, or are you ready to move on?
I'm ready to move on, man.
All right. We'll move on to what is probably the definition of those that like to yell at clouds, the meaningless game. I mean, this was by far the most meaningless game from a standpoint of UNC has nothing to really prove, even for a national seed point. Obviously, the weight games, all that matters for pool play, and also, too, really to even affect that national seed. They didn't run rule them, right? Or was it a run rule? The score was a run rule score, but they scored late in the 9th, right, to make it 12-2. So, again, obviously, it was a 12-2 win for North Carolina. They dominate from start to finish. I mean, they literally, first 5 batters, 4 homer. Alberto Osuna smashes one off the scoreboard to kind of throw the emphatic number onto that one. And it's kind of like what we've seen with North Carolina a lot recently. They jump on you early, and then they just kind of squeeze the life out of you.
You are missing the big pregame story, though.
The big pregame story. I must have missed it entirely because I have no idea what you're talking about.
No Vance Honeycutt.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yep.
What happened there?
We're not sure. I thought I heard something about back spasms, but now I'm not sure the reliability of that kind of source. So I'm not sure. They're not sure if he's going tomorrow night. He's probable, I think they tried to say, but you never really know. I mean, he dealt with some back injuries last year. If you guys recall, a lot of the time he missed last year. I think he missed most of the end of the season last year. But that was the big story because it was D'Onofrio leading off just like Honeycutt would with a home run. So D'Onofrio and Cook both had multi-home run games. But, yeah, UNC looking really good. They stuck with DeCaro, who has been their new Friday night guy. But yeah, let's talk about Pitt a little bit real quick. I know we're big Pitt guys. CJ Funk, Dom Papa, they played their final games in Pitt jerseys today. I pointed out in the tweet they've never failed or they've never missed the ACC tournament when they've been on that team, which is a pretty big deal for Pitt. It might not be for other programs, but for Pitt, that's a really big deal. And they got a nice little ovation when they were replaced in the ninth inning. And I know we're big CJ Funk fans for sure, especially he got to hit a home run today. That was the one home run Pitt had. But yeah, it's obviously a tough ending for Pitt, but I'm glad they were able to get back here. They had a lot of really good series wins there down the stretch to get to this point.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I think that's been the most fun part about the journey that I went on, Monty, was seeing all these guys and kind of getting to not know them personally. I never said a single word to CJ Funk or Don Popa, but I did meet some of their families. I did obviously get to see how they interact with their teammates. Just seeing all of that and just watching them throughout the year. This is the first year that I've really followed multiple teams and seen how they've developed and grown. And this team, again, getting to Charlotte was a big deal, and they had every reason to quit, right? I mean, they lose the Notre Dame series, and it pretty much feels like it's over. And then they go beat one of the best teams in the country, 2 of 3, beat the best pitcher, second best pitcher in the conference, in Jamie Arnold, and they find their way in. It was it was an impressive run. I mean, even I saw them. I think it was the first ACC weekend or second ACC weekend with UVA, and that team that I saw, light years behind what we saw at the end of the season. So again, the growth and the development of that team was obviously super promising. And Monty, I don't know if I told you this, but the summer collegiate team that we have in Kingsport has 4 Pitt Panthers on it this summer. So I'm kind of excited to see some of those Pittsburgh Panthers, some Gritzburg this summer in Tennessee. But
there we go.
Yeah, but I'll probably rock a Pitt hat my first day there, and they'll be like, "What in the world? I did not think I'd see a Pitt baseball hat in Kingsport, Tennessee." But that's all I've got on this game, Monty. Do you want anything else we want to add?
Yeah, no, just UNC business as usual. They're big games against Wake Forest, and Wake Forest looking for revenge. So we'll talk about that in a second.
Monty, my day was made today by the Miami Hurricanes.
Because you hate Clemson.
Yes, absolutely. Today I hate it.
I said it even with my pick.
I will admit today I hated Clemson. So to give you a little backstory, Monty, obviously you were watching it from the beautiful Truist Field. I was watching it from the sports bar that is basically right behind / attached, or restaurant, not really sports bar, that's attached to the ballpark here in Greenville. And there were a bunch of Clemson people that were at the game because it was kind of around lunchtime, right? Kind of on their lunch break watching the game. And so we're watching it, and obviously this game's been intense the whole time. And, not chirping back and forth, right? But when Clemson does something good, they go nuts. When mine did something good, I would go nuts because it's why not? Let's have some fun with it. But to just get the sweet, sweet feeling, because Monty, I have no problem people giving me a hard time. I have no problem with it at all. But the amount of people that talked crap to me about the Louisville loss to Miami, it just was a chef's kiss to watch Clemson lose. And I'm going to be honest, Monty, again, you were there. You can tell me if I'm wrong. I think the Miami team that played Louisville was a better Miami version than what we saw today. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but the amount of mistakes that Miami made today, they gave Clemson a chance. Now, offensively, I would maybe hear out Miami was better today. But from a full team standpoint, we saw a realistic Gage Deal. Your article was fantastic. He had to grind it out. It wasn't like this was the Gage Deal that just goes out there, closes his eyes, and the ball's finding the zone, and hitters can't hit it. He had to work for every single out he got. Obviously, the bullpen did the same thing for Miami. They had to grind. This was a gritty win. but just to see that, because again, I will be pulling for Clemson in the NCAA tournament. I think this Clemson team, I said it in my little debrief, right? I think this is a top 5, top 10 team. They should be a national seed, but it was just it felt a little sweeter to know that, and this is not even at the Clemson players. This is purely just at some of the fans that just were, again, a little annoying to me because, I picked against them, Clemson, to win their pool, and I just picked the wrong winner on. I mean, again, obviously Clemson can smack Louisville tomorrow, and you can talk to me about that then. That's fine. But at least from the pool standpoint, you're right. I just picked the wrong winner. I was kind of right about Clemson, where I just feel like they've been reeling a little bit. And I saw a Louisville and Miami team that I just thought would be feisty. And sure enough, it just happened to be Miami. That was the feisty one, not Louisville. So good on you, Monty, for calling it. Give me your reaction of what you saw in the ballpark, because that was one thing I was trying to pick up on TV, was just because they kept showing crowd shots of Clemson fans just like, doing this, or like, when they gave up the home run to make it 8-6, the pinch hit, right? They're just like doing one of these numbers. What was the environment like?
It was subdued. I think they've done it all year long though, where they've come back. So, there wasn't panic or like despair. They just didn't have anything much to cheer about for a while. I think they were a little surprised, but I don't think they were necessarily too concerned because, again, they've done this time and time again, and they've seen Miami blow it in the bullpen. And they had 8 of 9 innings with the leadoff guy got on, which is insane. But yeah, I mean, we talked about Gage. The story for me is Gage Zeal. And, it's funny. I don't know if Kane's cat Heat, who is blowing up our comments, I don't know if he's read my article. But Gage Zeal didn't have his best stuff. But what's more impressive is that he was able to grind that out. That's what makes him, like, you can, Kane's Cats, he's like, that's BS. He's the GOAT. When you made the comment about how he grinded it out, I'm like, it's more that's what makes a GOAT.
That's what makes him Gage Zeal.
Right. Like,
when he's not on, he's still better than most people when they're on.
And he's still able to beat Clemson. So, in the first inning, the first runs they gave up, it was a double. They could have had a triple play, actually, when they lined out to first. And they had the runners off second and first, and they botched the throw and then wasn't able to get the out, even a double play. And ultimately, with 2 outs, that's when Clemson scored the double. And then you had a passed ball that scored a run. You had the 2 errors, but ultimately those 2 errors did not end up resulting in a run. It was a pretty great effort. But what I also want to talk about on the other side, 3 freshmen who were fantastic. It was just, Antonio Jimenez was coming into this game hitting 172. And he goes 3 for 3, and I think he reached base a 4th time. I think he was 2 for 3 and reached base a 3rd time. He was just outstanding, and he hit a home run that would often be an F9, to be honest. It was under 100-mile-an-hour exit velocity. It went 354 feet, but it was just blowing out. That was a 3-run blast. Daniel Cuvée is Daniel Cuvée. He had a 2 RBI double. And then Jake Kulikowski pinch hit that crucial insurance run in the bottom of the 8th. But I was shocked when they went back to Miles Caba. After I actually turned and said, he's not Charlie Bielenson. He might be. Because he came out after, I think, throwing 60 pitches the other night.
He's Hispanic, right? He's the Hispanic rubber arm.
Yeah, apparently.
Whatever rubber is in Hispanic or in Spanish, I want that to be his new nickname.
Yep, and he came in and he thought that ball was gone that Becerra hit. Yeah. That Villegas ultimately made the catch on. What a game for Miami. Clemson, they fought back, but Beckett said it great in his press conference. They were executing until it was time to get the runs in. Like they put traffic on the base pass all day long. Mm-hmm.
Clemson. Again, that's why, like with me, I think this was almost like the perfect scenario for me. I'm able to get my little happy Micah dance, right, of all the revenge. But Clemson showed resilience. Clemson, play this game again tomorrow. I'm probably picking Clemson again. Yeah. But today it was the Canes' day. Huge win for Miami. I'm super excited for them. And I just want to say one more
and by the way, I want to say real quick, I'm not posting any comment that's derogatory towards a player. And, because Kane's Cats, he asked us to post something, and I'm not posting it. I just want to throw that out there. And he did go 2 for 3 with a walk. So he reached base 3 times. I'm holding the box score here. But just wanted to throw that out there so that he's not wondering why we didn't post his comment.
I'm not even looking. I never look at the comments.
Oh, you're fine. I just wanted to say it out loud instead of having to have seemingly ignore him. So
no, fair. But
yeah.
I agree again. Like when it comes to this stuff, I'm more likely to blame a coach than I am a player. These
right,
teenagers and whatnot. But one thing I wanted to mention when speaking about coaches, we have all been behind Ortega this whole time. We've all said like it's year 1, give him some time. It's been a rough year. This freshman core is the reason why he needs to come back. I mean, I am excited for the future of Miami Hurricanes baseball. You can say what you want. It's been a frustrating year. I get all of that. But to get this team off the mat, too. I mean, I got to see this team. This is one of the few teams I got to see in tournament play so far. Like, the way that they even approached the Louisville game. Like, I still to this day think that Miami just willed themselves to victory over Louisville. So this was really awesome to see. Anything else recapping before we move on to previewing tomorrow? Because tomorrow is another big day.
No. I still think I know Kulikowski and Jimenez have struggled mightily this year, but they have potential, and you've seen guys make big jumps from freshman to sophomore year. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I know, people aren't too pleased with that, but they're still fighting, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they can bring to the table on Saturday against Duke.
Yeah. We have a really weird sandwich, Monty. Normally the middle of the sandwich is the best part of it. Tomorrow, the best part of the sandwich is the bread. We've got 2 pool championship games. True. So do I. Especially I had a burger or a sandwich today that was Texas toast. Like that almost makes it better than what was in the middle. But we've got 2 pool championships tomorrow, 2 huge games, 2 games that matter for regional hosts, that matter for seeding as regional hosts, to advancing in ACC tournament play, getting revenge on some teams you've played or never played at all. So we're getting to see someone against someone we haven't seen and hopefully won't see the rest of the year so they're not paired in the NCAA tournament. Let's go, obviously, the 11 a.m. game, the game that I am most excited for. I am bummed that we actually have games for the SoCon starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow. So I will be at the ballpark, so I'll do my best to watch as much of it as I can. We got Jamie Arnold versus what I'm assuming is going to be Joe Savino. Monty, we've got Griffo Farrell, we've got Harrison Didaway, we've got James Tibbs III, we've got Daniel Cantu, we've got, Cam Smith. Just go up and down the lineup. I'm going to be honest, Monty. Like, I'm almost more excited from just both sides of the ball, who's throwing for this game than the nightcap, which is getting all the attention. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I ran into Jamie today, coincidentally, and he's
Arnold,
ready to go.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, Jamie Arnold. Excuse me. Yep. I ran into him. I ran into all 3 of those guys that you just mentioned, him, Cam Smith, and James Tibbs. As Cam Smith said, they were out doing their chores. They had done an interview upstairs, so they had been finishing that up. And I just happened to be on the elevator with them, and Jamie was raring to go. He was ready to go for tomorrow. He's going to be good. He's going to have a huge test. Obviously, this UVA team is surprisingly, the best. Not surprisingly, they've been the best team by average hitting wise, but they've also led the ACC in home runs when they play half their games in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. Mm-hmm. So they're really enjoying, as we saw the other day against Georgia Tech, this launch pad that we've got out here in Charlotte. So it's going to be really interesting. And obviously the same thing applies because I think Florida State would probably, without looking at the statistics, I'm assuming Florida State's number 2 in hitting and driving in runs and everything. So this might be the 2 best offenses. And we've seen Savino pitching really well. So I think the pitching matchup is a lot closer than some people might think.
Yeah. And I think too, like, this is crazy because we've seen some struggles from the Virginia bullpen, but I do think this matchup favors Virginia's bullpen. I like the idea of having Hungate and Tonis and those guys ready to roll. Where obviously Florida State had to use a decent amount of their bullpen in their last game against Georgia Tech. I'm sure they're a little bit more well rested, which is good. They should be able to go. But they've also, Link Jarrett basically made a statement stating, right, that this bullpen, not that he doesn't trust them, but he's got a very short leash on these guys. So
yeah, I can't remember how much Brennan Oxford pitched the other day. I don't think it was too much. So I don't know if
not
he's
too
burned.
much, no.
I don't think he's burned, so he should be still available.
Yeah, I
as
don't
well.
think any of them are going to be burned. I don't know if any of them threw more than 30 pitches. And again, they have plenty of rest between.
Yeah.
That was
And
Tuesday.
Cam Leiter. I mean, on Tuesday or Wednesday morning, I saw him pacing around in that.
I swear, Monty, if I see Cam Leiter coming into the game tomorrow, I want to see Cam Leiter come back. Cam, I'm asking you kindly, not tomorrow. Just not tomorrow. Any other day is fine with me. I want you back in the lineup. But the Virginia boy in me says, please, no. Please.
Yep. I would not be surprised if we didn't see him the other day.
Oh, it's the way my week's going right now, Monty, with my sports teams. That's about right. But yeah, no, I mean, this is going to be an incredible matchup. I mean, there's nothing to preview. Like, just tune in. Just tune in.
Yep.
The 3:00 game, Clemson, Louisville, the game that I thought was the pool championship. It's not a meaningless game because this is for Clemson for a national seed, and this is for Louisville to try to get something to get back in. Monty, I am going to try to do the Louisville propaganda, but I've decided I'm not going to post anything until tomorrow goes by. Because if they lose tomorrow, they're done. I'm just gonna be frank. They're done. There's too many bid thieves right now. UConn has been eliminated from the Big East tournament. So now there's going to be another Big East champion that's not named UConn, which could potentially make that league a 3-bid league because Xavier is one of those teams whose RPI is in the top 30. So there's just so many bid thieves coming down the pipeline. Louisiana, the Sun Belt regular season champion. Done.
Miami might be a bid thief.
Yeah. Coastal also done. Like, there's just so many teams right now. Like, the bubble. I mean, Georgia Tech honestly has to start sweating, which is really concerning. I will be putting out videos tomorrow, hyping up the Georgia Tech train regardless. The plan is hopefully to be able to do the Louisville train tomorrow night as well. But,
here's Micah, you might be heading to Indianapolis because of Miami.
I mean, if that's the case, not to say that, like,
if they steal Georgia Tech's bid.
I still think the ACC's got 9 bids in them, though.
They should, but I mean,
but again, you're right. No, you're right. Should and will are two different things.
Yep.
But obviously, in this one, Louisville's going to be going Angora, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
Clemson's going to go Connect, I guess.
Tristan Smith.
It's the thing, like, because obviously Connect pitched on Saturday. I'm sure the plan was to have him pitch again on Saturday in the semifinals, but things have obviously changed in that scenario. Maybe it is Tristan Smith. I mean, again, I do say Clemson has less to play for than Louisville, but at the same time, that's why someone I don't remember who it was. Someone.
But here's the other thing. The other thing, they haven't gotten Tristan Smith right back from injury, so like they want to get him right. So that might be important.
That's true.
To get him.
This might be a good spot for that. Yeah. And I had someone DM me going, is Clemson just going to try to be nice to Louisville, right? Because they're trying to get in, help the ACC. And I'm like, did you not watch that series? They will do anything they can to spoil their season.
That's also not how competitors work. They can't do that.
Exactly. I was like, I mean, again, I would have heard out like, hey, like Clemson, again, Clemson's pure focus would be let's get Tristan Smith right. We're going to go out and try to win the game. But our priority number one is let him get live ABs and not leave him out there to die. But like if he struggles a little bit, we're not going to be quick leash with them. I think Clemson will take this game a little bit more seriously from a standpoint of, all right, let's go to the pen a little bit earlier, or like let's pinch hit, let's pitch run, like play some more matchups just purely based off what this game means from a standpoint of just, again, the little mini rivalry we have currently from this past couple weekends ago, a month ago now series. But I'm excited for this one. I mean, this is the best day what we've had, in my opinion, because we got 2 really good games, and then a game that for me just means a lot from both a ego standpoint, but also too, like I really still believe in this Louisville team, and I also believe in Clemson, and it's gonna be fun to see how both teams bounce off the mat.
Yeah, and you're waiting on your propaganda. I am not. I'm not necessarily doing the same thing you are. You're kind of selling something. I'm more just sharing some of what Louisville is their mindset, because I've got a lot of quotes from Dan McDonnell about what they believe in and what they think they can do, and that's basically what I'm writing about, that Louisville thinks there's hope. So maybe the fans should as well. Not necessarily that I believe Louisville.
No, yeah, no. Again, like I'm just gonna this is not to take a shot at my friends at the ACC, because at the end of the day, they have a lot on their plate and they have a lot to do. So I'll step in for them. But watching the SEC game, shout out to Josh. I don't know if he's in the chat tonight or not, Monty, but
I haven't seen it.
He pointed out to me yesterday, so I turned in some SEC games today. Behind home plate, they had a rotation of best non-conference win percentage, most top whatever. They had a bunch of just they're feeding you stuff to make you realize that this team is so good, this conference is so good, and I just don't see the same going to bat for these teams on the bubble as for the ACC as the SEC is doing. So I'm going to try to do that for them, because I do think Louisville is an NCAA tournament caliber team. I believe in them more than some of these teams that are going to get in. Like, I think that Louisville would beat Northeastern, and Northeastern right now is also on the bubble. But someone's got to go to bat. So when I say propaganda, I'm not going to start the propaganda train for, a team that's, dunzo, right? Like, I'm not going to do it for Virginia Tech.
I mean, we have been driving the Pitt propaganda train.
That's true. Pitt to the NCAA tournament. Let's go.
Put them in.
Start it right now. Everything they did this weekend made me think that they're coming back. But no, I'm excited for sure. Last game of the night, the one that everyone's talking about, Chase Burns. Who's UNC going with?
Chase Sprague.
Okay, so I would assume that.
I don't know if that's confirmed, but that's the obvious.
I mean, that would make the most sense. It's a revenge game for Chase Burns.
Yeah.
Right now, the matchup, in my opinion, based off what we've seen, goes towards UNC because of what the success they had against him. However, again, we're caveat that with Chase Burns we've heard it from multiple sources. Giant circle around this one when the pool play came out.
Yeah, because this was the only team that was able to tag him. I mean, they hit 4 home runs. They beat him at the couch. So, this is a launch pad too. Like, it's going to be interesting.
I'm not going to lie to you, Monty. I'm a little intrigued because we've talked about it, right? Chase Burns is a great pitcher, but when he leaves one, it goes 400 feet.
The nice thing with that is there's typically no one on base.
That's also a good point.
I would love to actually get the numbers. I would assume most of his runs given up are solo home runs.
Yeah, and I'm assuming UNC is not going to probably start 4 for 5 with 4 home runs. I'm just going to put that guess out there. But is there anything? I mean, obviously, one thing to keep an eye on that you informed me of tonight was the Vance Honeycutt news.
Yep.
Seeing if he makes the lineup. Not to say that UNC would not miss him in the lineup, because that's not what I'm saying. But at least they've got plenty of guys that can step up and that I have faith in to fill that role well.
And if he's back in the lineup tomorrow night, there's nothing to worry about. But if he's not, then you're starting to worry if he's out, if he's done.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. But is there anything else you want to add from a preview standpoint on this game? We'll pick them, obviously.
No, it's going to be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to that one. It could be a good pitching duel. Wake Forest might put up the offensive fire number. Who knows? I mean, UNC could surprise us again. And
I'm intrigued to see what the crowd's going to look like too, because because we know UNC's got a good crowd, we know Wake's got a good crowd, but NC State's always been the majority crowd. They always have they stick out the most. They've got that big just school number. I'm intrigued.
I think it'll be a decent crowd.
Will it sell out? Is what I'm curious, because
it's also a Friday night.
On the weather and stuff. It's the same. Depends on weather, all that good stuff. But people have had this game circled for a while. There's been a lot of buzz around it, so very, very intrigued. All right, Monty. We're picking because I'm technically hosting. I'm making you pick first so I can hear your thoughts on Virginia and Florida State.
In my pool, I've obviously got Virginia. I think I picked Georgia Tech originally. In my pool, I may have picked Florida State to win this game, and I think I'm going to stick with it.
You did. You had the opposite of me.
Yeah, I think I had Virginia.
You said Virginia advanced. No. Yeah, because you had Georgia Tech beating Florida State, and then you had Virginia beating Georgia Tech, and then Florida State beating Virginia, but then tiebreaker goes Virginia. I had the tiebreaker too, and my tiebreaker had Virginia beating Florida State. So I will stick to it. It hurts me. I really don't want to put it on the graphic because I seem to be giving everybody the kiss of death. So this is going to go great for me. But I'm going to stick to my guns. I'll stick with Virginia. I just think that this offense is, if the Virginia team that we saw yesterday shows up, I don't know if anyone in the conference can beat them. I don't know if many teams in the country could beat them. But obviously, will Savino provide a similar outing? Will the bats be as hot on one of the best pitchers in college baseball? You just don't know. That's the nice thing about tomorrow's. He obviously, as a Virginia fan, I'm going to be a little bit more invested in it. But if Virginia loses to Florida State, I'm not going to be like, oh my goodness, this is the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life, because this should be a great ball game. All right.
I also love Florida State. They're in a 13-way tie as my favorite ACC team.
And the team you hate the most is on my head.
Yep.
Clemson, Louisville. I've got one word. Not even. Actually, I have to say the words because there's gonna be a podcast for them. Louisville. Stick with it.
You're gonna stick with it. I'm gonna take Clemson on the bounce back.
I want things to get interesting on the bubble. So even if I didn't have Louisville picked in the beginning, I'm just gonna ride them until I'm wrong. It's fun. Why not? All right. Big game of the night.
You also picked first. Go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. I don't have a problem picking first on that one. I'll pick first on this one too if you want me to, Monty. I picked Wake Forest to win this game in our pool, but I had UNC advancing because of tiebreaker. I didn't have this game as a winner take all.
Right, because you had.
I'm going to break my bracket pool because I still believe that Wake Forest is going to win. Because a lot of people told me that Mike was only picking Wake because the game was meaningless. No, I was picking that game because I think Chase Burns is going to be bat out of hell. Like that, I wouldn't be surprised if Chase Burns goes 8 innings with just he's hitting 100 through 140 some pitches. I'm obviously not going to throw him that much. That's sarcasm, but he's going to again what we've seen before, right? If Walt comes to come get him and he's not ready, he's not letting him get him. And I just know the competitor. We've seen it all year with Chase Burns. I don't think that North Carolina can tag him twice. I just don't. I believe in Chase Burns, and I think too there's a swagger to this Wake Forest team right now, kind of being the underdog. That again, I picked Pitt to win. They dominated Pitt from start to finish, so I feel pretty good about that pick. Where you at on that one, Monty?
I am going to go with North Carolina.
Cool. We're going to be there again. So Monty's going to go 3-0. I'm going to go 0-3, and it's going to be great for Monty.
I mean, they won the ACC. We've been questioning them all year long, and they just keep winning.
I mean, a part of me wants to say North Carolina because of my pool, right? But I'll stick to my guns because again, I just believe in Chase Burns that much. But again, I don't think there's not a wrong answer. Monty, the only prediction that I want to get right is that all 3 of these games are phenomenal. That's the only prediction that I would care. Like if I go 0-3, but got a fantastic 3 games, thumbs up from me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Monty, that's all I've got. I'm sure you're probably getting kicked out of the press box. I have Burger King that's been sitting here for the 30 minutes.
Real quick, I've written 2 articles today. Go check them out.
Grinding.
There's a Louisville one coming. We got some great quotes in both of them. I'm really proud of the 2 articles I put together with the quotes we got from the press conference. They're really fantastic. One's from a Miami perspective following their big win, and one is from Duke's perspective with their big win. And then tomorrow, hopefully, it's pretty early still compared to last night, I should be able to get this Louisville piece out so that we can get that out ahead of game time tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, Monty, this was a fun day of ACC baseball. Well, it started off fun, and then it was not as we had hoped. My night wasn't great as ETSU was upset as well. So tomorrow can only be better. So, Monty, enjoy the last little bit of scenery that you have for the night. Enjoy our wonderful hotel. I'm not going to name drop it, obviously, so all the fans don't come flooding your way. But I'm excited for tomorrow, Monty. I'm excited to
last day of pool play
at the ballpark here in Greenville at 7:00 in the morning. But I am excited that at 11 a.m. I can kick back in a suite and hopefully watch some really good baseball.
Yeah, and last day of pool play before we have a semis. So we'll have our semis completely figured out. Obviously, we know one's Duke, Miami. The other one's going to be real interesting because it's, I think, 4 really good teams all top 25 teams.
Yeah, no, I agree, Monty.
Top 15 teams? Yeah, all top 15 teams.
Yeah, true.
So
very true. Well, Monty, Good night, obviously. Thank you, everybody that was watching and or listens on the podcast form. Obviously, Monty, I'm assuming you'll send that to me once the night is over. But as always, it means just a little bit less here at AC Country. And go ACC.